Hey, look at that. It says we're live. Man, it's been a rough one this evening. Let me bring some folks in here to join me. There's Alan. We have Trey from Ghost Tactical and John from Advanced Shooting Analytics. Thanks everyone for your patience. We had a variety of tech issues this evening, and it took a while to get them sorted out. As a result, Facebook was not cooperative. Every time we tried to start the stream, Facebook would reject it and kick us out, and it crashed the whole show. So we just dumped that. We're now on Odyssey and Twitter and the YouTubes and I don't know, probably something else.
Did you name it a gun name? Because Facebook might have killed it for that.
What? Say again?
If you named it anything with a firearms name, Facebook.
Yeah, really. Huh. Yeah. Facebook hates me. That's pretty well documented, I think. But we got it working now. Hopefully, the people who normally check in with the show on Facebook will realize that we are on the YouTubes or one of the other platforms this evening, and I'll have to schedule it the right way next time so that we don't have the same issue again. Okay, so anyhow, thank you everyone for being here. It's This Week at Gear Report, where we typically are going to talk about everything that's been published since last week, things that are upcoming in the published queue, of which I think we've got four articles in the queue already waiting to be published. Oh, plus a fifth one that's an email that I need to put into an article and publish, plus all the stuff that I need to be writing. So we got a lot of stuff coming in the next week or so that we can talk about. And then, the ever popular shit shooting portion of the program, which we just kind of interspersed throughout the whole thing. So before we dig in and talk to all of our guests, I'd like to say a big thank you to two different groups of people. One, Maxim Defense, thank you so much for being the official sponsor of This Week at Gear Report and underwriting our broadcast endeavors. And also thanks to our patrons over on Patreon who also kick in a little bit here and there to help underwrite the massively expensive operation we have here at Gear Report, because hookers and blow ain't free. So that's all I'm saying. Not that we have anything to do with that. So on the program this evening, we got an interesting panel so far. TJ will probably join us at some point. For now, hi, I'm Jeff. I'll be your tour guide this evening from Gear-Report.com. That guy over there, Alan from Quarter Horse Arms. Alan, would you like to say hello?
Hey, everybody.
Or you could say, hey, everybody. That works as well.
All right. Hello.
Yeah. He can't follow directions. Down there, we have John. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm the John, right? You're talking about me, right?
Oh, yeah.
John McGuire. I'm with Advanced Shooting Analytics. Founded this company in 2019, and I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about what we got going on tonight.
I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a really good discussion. We're going to dive into that in a few minutes. A teaser. If you like shooting, if you like precision shooting, if you're frustrated by some of the kind of technological limitations that firearms have had for a while, I think this will be a really interesting discussion for you. I feel bad for Trey already because, yeah. There's so many Marine jokes I can make right now. I feel like it'd be mean, though. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna say we're glad to have you here, man.
I'm a little disappointed, Jeff. I figured there's got to be some kind of a crayon joke in there somewhere, but thanks for having me. Most people know me as the lead lip syncer from our air band Air Supply, so thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so again, thanks for being here, everyone. Let me see if I can get our comments, our chat up where I can see them here. Yo from the Gun Snob, underachieving as always. Thank you so much for rolling in with a completely slack-ass single yo. You couldn't even manage 2 yos. Three is kind of like the bar, where if you don't get 3 yos, it's kind of an insult. But
Ooh,
See,
ouch.
on my
Oh, wow.
podcast, I embrace the single and the double yo. I think a single yo greeting is okay. So if you wanted to give the single or the double yo, I welcome you anytime.
yeah, and that is on the Ghost Tactical channel. So I highly encourage you, if you are lazy like the gun snob,
If you're lazy,
go
I'm
hang
your
out
guy.
over there. Yeah.
I'm your guy.
The only thing that would make the show better is if it wasn't on. Dude, so that was the case for a while. We really struggled with some tech issues getting started this evening. Um, that's how good it is. Oh yeah, and it's about to get better, let me tell you. But in all seriousness, Gunsnop, thanks for being here. We appreciate you, because if you weren't here, we'd have no one to pick on but Alan. And I feel bad when we do that.
Yeah, it hurts my feelings and I might cry.
Yeah, no one wants to see that. All right. Well, I mean, I say that. I don't know. I have a feeling TJ might be down for watching Alan cry. What do you think?
Yes, let's do it.
I
Yeah.
tried to make Alan cry
That's
at the
harsh.
gathering, but
That's
Well,
harsh.
TJ is the, snack director, not the entertainment
Whoa,
director.
whoa, whoa,
no,
whoa,
no, no,
whoa,
no, no,
whoa.
no, no! Don't you sell him short? Don't you sell him short?
Oh, I got to get the lighting right here.
Yeah, what's
He
going
is
on?
the director of snacks and beverages. You gotta
Yeah,
get it
right
right.
over there.
But that's not the entertainment director, and my crying, I think, would definitely fall under entertainment.
No, that was if I fail in entertaining everybody.
So look at that. We already have excitement from the peanut gallery. A sigh. Hi, TJ. All right.
I couldn't get my camera working. I was like, this is a nightmare. I was like, that's it. I'm just going old school computer.
I mean,
I'm
he
telling you,
is the face of Gear-Report.
Apparently, that's what I hear.
someone's got to be. Someone has got to be. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say Stacy's secret man crush, but apparently it's Gun Snobs. So,
Yeah.
that's a big lie. I'll be honest with you. Everyone knew. There's no secret there.
No,
It's not a
no
secret.
secret.
I mean, can you blame him?
I mean, the dude wears
Okay.
wingtips in the mud. I mean, how can you not
That's
like
a
that?
good point. That's a good point.
Listen,
Okay,
those
so-
shoes cleaned up fantastic.
I'm
Listen,
sure.
Linda.
My Vans would have been ruined.
Yeah. The show has. Oh my goodness, things are getting spicy in the comments. Crystal is more my crush. Yeah, same here. I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
Not my crush.
The decades long crush in my case. Now the audience is complete. Thank you, Gizzard Gary. I'd like to remind everyone, Gizzard Gary has banning capability on this broadcast. So,
Crystal.
yeah. So if anyone wants to get too out of control,
Yeah.
just remember the bird is a
Right.
word. He's going to come after you if you give him too much lip.
Give him the bird, Gary. Give him the bird.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so why don't we get down to business here? We've got a really interesting show lined up here. I'm going to give a little bit of background before we ask John to talk a little bit more, because this is a show that should have happened 2 years ago, and it didn't. Oh, Gary is going to bring the hammer out. I can't wait to see that happen. I mean, that would be a travesty of justice. I hope everyone is safe from the band hammer. That's what I meant. So anyhow, should have happened 2 years ago. We met Advanced Shooting Analytics at I think weren't you guys were up in the pop-up preview a couple years ago at SHOT Show, I think. And we spent a little time in the booth there, had a great discussion, trying to figure out how we were going to do some things together. And at that point, we didn't have this weekly live show yet. I mean, what are we? This is episode 106. So we've been doing it about 2 years. So we started it shortly after that SHOT Show, right when the Rona started and everyone started getting locked down. We said, all right, let's do a live show. So now we have a really good facility to have these kind of interactive discussions. So once again, we're gonna talk about a cool brand that we found, and And I'll remind everyone, this is a participatory discussion. Please hop in with your questions and comments along the way. So let's start out with a little, we heard an introduction from John. You want to give us a little background on the company, like maybe high level, the concept for the company. What's the big problem that you're trying to solve? What are you bringing to the market that it was missing?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm of the opinion that these things, we call these precision rifles, right? That's kind of the precision rifle series, the precision rifle shooting. I am trying to encourage people to start calling these effective rifles, or somehow get accuracy in that title, because there. Can I do the screen share thing? Do I have
Yeah.
that capability?
Yeah, you should have a little button at the bottom that says share, and you can pick what you want to share. And you just have to tell me you're going to share, which you just did, so that I know to go find it and click show on screen.
So
There we go.
I wanted to pull this up, and a lot of people, I think, they use these as synonyms, right? Precision and accuracy, and they're really not. If you look at that top right picture, that is kind of how I feel like.
Yeah, I hate to say it, you're coming through okay right now. I hate to interrupt you. We've had some audio coming in and out. I know you've had some mic issues. I've had some video issues. TJ's had some video issues. We have had tech gremlins all over the place tonight. So just for anyone wondering, I'm hearing the audio drop in and out as well. You were pretty consistent there right as I interrupted you. So why don't you take off again and see if continue talking, and we'll see if it has cleared itself up.
I have one more fallback plan where I can throw on a different camera with a mic, but you're giving me a thumbs up, so I'm gonna keep going. I think the industry has moved towards this low accuracy, high precision, top right target, and I jokingly keep a folder on my iPhone full of photos of this. There's pictures of these tight groups shot. Every round, every bull is touching each other, but none of them are anywhere near the bullseye of the target. And somehow that's just become okay. And anyways, that's the problem, right? So I wanted to go out and make the world's most accurate rifle. We did that in 2020. I think we met you there at the pop-up preview. I thought we saw you at the industry day at the range. Is that true as well?
Probably so. Yeah.
I think you shot it.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But that was late January of 2020, and 2020 was not the best year ever. There was this pandemic-like thing that went around, and we were in a weird position. We were an investor-funded company, and all of a sudden the entire financial sector closed down. And so we basically took 2 years and did nothing but R&D. And we came back, and again, we met you at the 2022 show this year, right? So can we go right into the technology? That's the part I like talking
about. Yeah. So let me get back to this.
Ask me some questions. How do you want to structure your show?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. So I'll remind all of our panelists. I am counting on you. If my wits are what is keeping this show afloat, we are in trouble. I'm counting on you to come in with some insightful questions as well. Same for the folks out there in the comments. Please let us know what kind of things you would like to know. And I know we've got a number of people in the comments, Gizzard Gary and the Gun Snob, who have been to SHOT Show a couple times and may have bumped into you guys. So if any of you have actually talked to John, have been through the ASA booth, have been through and shot the rifle on the range, please leave some comments and questions on that as well. So I think where I'd like to start this is kind of the inspiration. You kind of gave the high level inspiration of accuracy versus precision and
Yeah.
how it's used. But was there like an event or something that
Yeah.
happened that really kind of made you go, you know what? I have got to fix this. You know, what motivated you to go out and get investors
Sure.
and build this company?
So my background was I spent a little over a decade in the aerospace community. Mainly, I was working on spacecraft and specifically the assemblies of different parts, specifically made of different materials. And it, we're all familiar with the idea that the materials expand and contract as temperatures rise or fall, right? This is you turn your car off and you hear your exhaust pipe cracking. It's because it's shrinking in the mounts or whatever. This isn't a foreign concept, but this was my job at I worked kind of a subcontractor near Boulder, but I was farmed out to Goddard and to JPL and a bunch of other aerospace primes, a lot of NASA stuff, mostly aerospace primes though, and a little bit for the Canadians. And my job was to look at an assembly made by, with parts from different vendors, all from different materials, and to look at how you put these together and then have them go someplace like Mars where it's a fairly harsh environment and have them not fall off. Different materials expand and contract at different rates. That's physics. You can't fight that. And so I don't know. I kind of uniquely think about that. I think, but yeah. I spent 11 years or so in that community, and then I went ahead and broke my back, which was a bad idea. I wish I hadn't done that, but it made that office work not that much fun anymore. And I got out of that and went into aerospace consulting, and I enjoyed that for a while. I was working on aircraft, which I'd always wanted to do, but I was also starting to get into precision shooting, or now I'm doing it, effective shooting, whatever you want to call it. I went to Mile High Shooting Accessories. They were only 20 minutes from me, and I spent an incredible amount of money, and I built a really good rifle. I worked with Fritz there. That was back when he was with them, and yeah, it was cool. I had a really good long range 300 Norma mag, but when I got it, I was kind of in disbelief of how it was put together, and the observation that I made was that all of these rifle systems right now, if they are in a chassis, they are using an aluminum chassis and a stainless steel receiver. And that was the moment where I thought it warranted a little bit of investigation. And this was what I did, right? I have the background to look at complex assemblies, and this one was easy. This was a receiver mounted to the top of an aluminum chassis with two mounting bolts. So it's you can pretty much do it in your head, right? The aluminum is going to expand or contract 3 times faster than the steel.
Wow. Yep.
And because of that, there's going to be stresses induced into the assembly, right? And that means parts are going to move. And how they move is a little bit complicated. It's proportional to their stiffnesses, but I have the software programs to look into this. And so that's what I did. And the results from that were pretty interesting. And we filed some patents. And then we founded the company. It was me and a few of my friends I'd worked with in aerospace for a while. And it was it became like the best job I've ever had in my life. But it was, I try to emphasize it's a different approach than a lot of companies have. And it's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. But I think there's a tendency for really proficient shooters to get into gunsmithing to improve their own rifles, and sometimes that grows into a company. And I kind of came at it the opposite way. I came at it as just somebody who asks a lot of questions, is into technology. And then I started looking at precision rifles, and I thought maybe I could offer something to the industry.
Interesting. Okay. And it seems like if you were dealing with temperature extremes on spacecraft in an environment like Mars, the temperature swings that you had to deal with there would be orders of magnitude more than in a firearm, right?
I would say they're greater. They're not orders of magnitude greater, but
okay.
I mean, if think about the mission profile for special forces, right? They may be doing a halo jump, falling at -30. They hit the ground. They're supposed to fight. That next day, it can easily be 100, 110, and then
Okay.
what I want to emphasize is this is an ambient air temperature issue, right? This is not. I mean, it's predominantly that. It helps if you're shooting your rifle rapid fire and like the barrel is heating up, the action is heating up. This will benefit you in that circumstance as well. But it can, picture a black rifle in the direct sunlight in the desert. That's a swing from -30 to 140. It'll burn you in sometimes, right? Like, so I don't know. I don't want to do math tonight, but that's like not far from 200 degrees. And then I guess Mars, it's I forget what Mars is. It's like 120 degrees Fahrenheit on the launch pad at Kennedy, and then it's like -220 on the surface in winter. So it's another 100 degrees or whatever, but it's not orders of magnitude more. That special forces guy, he's supposed to fight when he hits the ground. He's going to be laying there for 3 or 4 days waiting for that VIP target to come, and he's going to get a one shot to take it. And that's where I go back to this difference between precision and accuracy, because if that guy who's now risked his life to be there has one shot, or say he has 3 shots and he forms this great little group, but it's 10 feet over the target, like, he put his life at risk and for nothing. And so, I'm trying to change that. I think precision you can buy. I think if you go and get a quality receiver or even a non-quality receiver and have it blueprinted, you get a good barrel and a good gunsmith, you can buy your way into precision. But the real kicker is how easy it is to destroy accuracy. And it's almost like, when you start thinking back on it, it's almost comical how much we dismiss it, right? You take a shot at a target, it hits top left, and you take another shot, those bullet holes are touching. You're like, heck yeah, my rifle's on. And you completely neglect the fact that you're not hitting the bullseye. I see this with hunters, right? I used to do a lot of hunting. Every year you'd go and you'd sight your rifle in, right? And every year it seems like scope needed a few clicks to get it back onto the 0. And like, why is that? What happened from the last time you shot it to this time where now your 0 is off? And it's like this thing that we all notice that zeros move, and we deal with it though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, pretty much every hunting season, you're like, all right, gotta shoot the rifle and see if it's still on. Like, oh crap, it's not.
Right, but why? Right? Like, did somebody go in, like, untorque all your screws and twist it on you, or maybe did you shoot it at a different temperature than the last time you shot it?
That's usually it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And think about, I gave you the special forces warrior profile, but now think about trophy hunting, right? I support trophy hunting. I think it's a great form of conservation, right? This is how areas get protected, is from hunting sales. And what do? You go to trigger time up in Longmont. you're in a nice room temperature shooting range. You get your gun perfectly on zero. Now you go to Alaska, you're gonna lay down in the snow and take a shot, or you go to Africa and you're in the sunlight. You pay, what, $50,000 for some of these hunts, more, four times that easily, and like you're still gonna shoot a tight group, but if it's over the back of the caribou or whatever else you're aiming at, you just wasted your trip.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of getting into the concept of the difference between, being a marksman and making expensive noise, or at least that's kind of the way I've liked to describe it. Let me bring something up on the screen.
I even see funny things like I've seen things like sets distance record after 20 cold bore shots. Like have you seen articles like you don't get 20 cold bore shots, you get one cold bore shot. And if you miss, go home.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like negative about it. I just think that we should be more critical about our equipment as well.
Sure. Yeah, well, and I think that to do that, you kind of have to hold a little higher expectation for the monkey pulling the trigger as well. For what is an acceptable. All right, now I can't remember which one was which, the accuracy and precision.
Well, accuracy is getting it to the bullseye. Precision is a type.
So precision. Yeah. Yeah, of course. I'm in North Carolina, where the typical deer hunter, the pre-hunting season ritual is to go establish minute of pie plate, is what they call it. Like the paper plate they put up, and if you hit the plate, it's good. And I'm like, really? Like, Billy Bob, you only shot 50 yards. Come on. But anyhow, so
yeah, this is not for everybody, right? This is not for the guy who's going to the sporting goods store and buying an out of the box rifle, asking them what the cheapest scope they have there is, putting it together and killing deer, which you can do. Like, this is, if you're shooting 100 yards at targets, you do not need my technology. Save your money, right? But if you want to go and stretch it out, this helps.
All right, so I pulled up some pictures from SHOT Show in January, and first I want to make sure, can everyone see these?
Yes.
Yes, awesome.
There's a lot of people here who don't want to do math either. I like that.
Yeah,
you guys are my people.
So tell us what we're looking at here, please.
That is our disruption chassis that we presented at SHOT Show 2022. So, can I walk you through the construction?
Oh, please do.
What we call is coordinated thermal expansion, and CTX is what we try to badge everything with. You either have CTX or you don't. So if you look at a typical chassis construction, what you're going to find is there's an aluminum core to it, or a spine, and that will be the primary structural element there. And then, and what that does is it's going to grab the receiver with two mounting bolts, and it's going to touch the recoil lug. And then there's a bunch of ergonomic attachments, right? There's something to hold the magazine, a mag lever, there's a trigger guard. So you separate those two things out. But everyone out there is going to have a common aluminum spine chassis. And this is always sold as aerospace grade aluminum, right? This is like, people brag about this in their marketing. And I've been in that industry. I will tell you that 6061 T6 aerospace aluminum is the standard aluminum that you pretty much get anytime you make anything. Like, this is not aero, this is just aluminum. There is no longer anything special about that alloy. But this is what happens. You get an aluminum, the strength of the chassis comes from aluminum, and to the sides of that, they'll either attach like an injection molding, that will make up the magazine or the trigger area or the stock, all that stuff, or they'll carve it out of the aluminum too. And man, you see funny stuff here, because these chassis that you see on the market are not being made from billet aluminum. These are all they're forgings basically. So it's like a little bit of a fancy casting, but this stuff is made as economically as possible. And we take a different approach, because that aluminum rigidly bolted to a receiver is a problem. That aluminum, for every degree the temperature changes, will expand 3 times further than the steel. And now, if you look at some of these chassis that are out there, they're really strong. You have a box frame out of 6061, and in turn, take a look at a Remington receiver. I have my assistant nearby, and maybe he can grab me a receiver. I'll point it out, but the receiver is not as strong as people think. Look at how much meat is at the rear mounting tap of a Remington 700, or there's some that are these lightweighted actions out there, and they're not that strong. Well, we take a different approach. The center of our chassis system, the whole structural element, is made out of a stainless steel alloy that is picked to expand and contract at the exact same rate as that receiver over temperature. And that's it. That's the trick. It's not more complicated than that. There's a few other things we do. We use expansion joints or slip fit type interfaces to because aluminum is cheap, right? You can machine it cheaper, you can buy it cheaper than these alloys of steel we're making it at. And so those images up on the screen, that's I think the one I have behind me. You can see, if you look directly above the magazine, there's like that window. Through that window, you're seeing the stainless steel. And that's what's going to pick up the receiver. And then all around that is aluminum. So how do we get away with the aluminum? Well, do you see the fastener just under the handguard, kind of towards the front? That is basically a pin, and that's the only place where that fore end or those aluminum side guards with that window in it contact the stainless. So it's at one location, and if it expands or contracts, we don't care. It's pinned in the back, so it can't fall off, but it can expand and contract all day long. It has no effect on the spine of the chassis or what's actually connected to the receiver. And then this one here is even a little bit more unique, because we've been doing development work with Armament Technologies and Tangent Data, and we manufacture that scope tube there out of the same alloy. And I approached them in 2020. They were the only company willing to talk to me about this. I said, let me make you guys a scope tube and we'll prove to you that it works. And they gave me a drawing for how to make the tube. We made them a tube. They populated it with, it's their Marksman 5-25 rifle scope. It's a fantastic scope. I think Tangent Data is a phenomenal company. They clearly value quality like we do. And now what you're looking at, right, is a stainless steel chassis connected to a stainless steel receiver, connected to stainless steel scope mounts, and a stainless steel scope body. So no matter what the temperature does, those parts expand and contract in unison. There's never any bending. Does that?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm trying to think when the I think it was it 2020, Jeff, when he had the pictures up of all the temperatures of a normal scope and a normal chassis versus the temperatures of your scope and your chassis, and it was like, I mean, a giant difference.
You mean on the screen in their booth?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, and I suspect, do you have any of those you've got some of those kind of graphical data representations
Yeah, when
that you can bring up.
you're ready, I got these receivers. I want to hold this up. Look at the rear mounting hole on this receiver, right? There is not a lot of steel in that region, right? It's like the cross-sectional area around that bolt. So if I hold it like this, it's the thickness above and below that bolt, and that's the thickness on the side. Like people talk like this is this giant burly piece of steel, and how can an aluminum chassis bend it? You don't have to bend it in the middle or at the end. It's that tab will do all the bending right there.
Right. Yeah, that's it's interesting to me, some of my assumptions of where the strength was and or where the strength is, how much strength there is um, in that receiver assembly versus what there could be, the forces being exerted by the thermal expansion of the parts within the chassis. It's really kind of got me scratching my head because I find the new, like, I think that, like you said, they're mainly all aluminum chassis rifles are some of the sexiest things out there in the shooting space. And I've drooled over a bunch of them and thought, man, those are really something else. But now I look at them and I'm like, yeah, but because it's like, once you wrap your head around the idea that those dissimilar metals, as they heat up, are going to wreck your precision, it's like, well, okay, what's the point?
Not precision, accuracy. It's the point
Accuracy.
of aim, point of impact, right? It's where you're aiming versus where that bullet's going to hit.
Okay.
Can I share my screen again? I want
Yeah.
to. I got some pictures here. When you called me and asked me if I was still on for today, that was my reminder that this was today. So I stole this from our slide deck that we used for investors, and so I did my best to clean it up, but it's not perfect. So those images in the top right are basically the competition, and we're on the bottom, and both of those are the deformation. That's assuming you sight your rifle in at 70 degrees Fahrenheit room temperature, and then you take it out and use it at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a 30-degree temperature change, and then we've magnified that image 500 times, both the competition and the ASA ink one there. And let me just tell you what you're kind of looking at. The colors indicate how far each part of that assembly has moved from its original straight location. And specifically, if you look at that top image about the chassis, you can see it's almost like the center of rotation or the center of deformation is kind of like right smack in the middle, right? There's that dark blue area on the bottom. It even says minimum. And the chassis has this upward sweep on both ends, right? Well, what that does is it pulls the receiver upwards. So when temperatures rise, your receiver is going to start aiming higher. And we have free floated barrels, right? So attached to the end of that, your barrel is now pointed at a higher location. So that's a problem. Yeah. But we also put scope mounts on our rifles, right? And some of them out there, and I am, during this show, I am not going to name any names. I'm going to try to just be positive. But some of the scope mounts out there that people have the most confidence in are very strong. One-piece scope mounts are very common right now. And what you are doing is putting a very strong, very stiff piece of aluminum on top of your steel receiver. And with some of these one-piece mounts, they don't just grab it at the front and the back, right? They grab that pick rail with friction all the way along the entire length of the mount. You put then an aluminum scope in there, that's going to have its own expansion rate. And so if you look at that top right picture, the scope is now pointed at the ground. So what does that mean? Well, now you're looking through your scope and you're seeing lower than normal. So what are you going to do? You're going to raise it up till you're back on target. Your barrel was already high. Now you're going to raise it again. So you have this problem that it doesn't resolve by putting aluminum mounts and aluminum scope. It makes itself even worse. And I have like this is as nerdy as I'll make you guys put up with today. But you can see these two angles, right? There's the angle that the barrel upwards is pointing alpha there and downwards for the scope beta. The A and B add together and it will miss high. This is for every aluminum chassis on the market. The ones that look stronger or beefier are going to cause more problems. We have gone in and we have looked at all of the competitors that I think are really out there and relevant, and the ones that have the closest performance to us are the ones that are just weak. They're minimalistic and so all these numbers that I present in here, that's based on those. We have, with the chassis alone, my software analysis said we'd be 10 times better. And I figured that would be pretty good if we can improve the problem by 10 times. Well, we went and we did a full optical test on this. We put it in a thermal chamber. We used this instrument called an autocollimator. And as we changed the temperature of the chamber, we had our chassis in there and our competitors. We had identical receivers on both of them, and we just watched how they moved. And we just plotted it, and I'll show you that plot here. So we're 55 times better with just the chassis. So
Jeez.
in this picture, what you're looking at is basically the point of impact in arc seconds over the x-axis there being temperature. So from 0 to 60 was what we measured centigrade. After that, the epoxy we had melted and everything fell apart. But the people we've identified as our best competition is that red line, and that's what happens. The point of impact changes at a linear, predictable rate, and ours does not. And here's what's also funny. You would expect this to show up in elevation, right? You have I told you have the barrel that on a hot day is going to point up and a scope that's going to point down. But this is also visible as windage, because there's another feature of the ASA chassis that becomes obvious when you hold it, and that is that it's completely symmetrical. And anytime you have an asymmetry in your chassis design and you start exposing it to these stresses associated with mismatch coordinated thermal expansion, there will be a twist. And now all of a sudden you start questioning your wind calls. And now it, like I use a Kestrel when I'm out shooting, right? And there's clearly a problem they've identified, because as temperatures change, the dope will change, but it's not real. When I take my rifle out, it's 25.5 MOA to hit at 1,000 yards, and I stopped bringing a Kestrel because it never changes. I have my scope on top of the rifle I like to shoot. It's set at 25.5. I always hit at 1,000 yards. Now, I'm not saying my wind calls are always perfect. I came at this as somebody into technology playing with guns. I am not a competitive shooter. I'm in a wheelchair. I don't even like to try to lay on my stomach. That feels awful. So, I am not a pro shooter. I can't get the wind calls perfect, but the elevation is always on. I don't need the Kestrel anymore. There was one, oh yeah. So let me show you. This this is what I mean when I'm talking about symmetry. So in that top image, that's our competition. You can see how there's almost like a clockwise rotation on it, right? That red, if you like the front of the gun is facing you, so we'll call it the, like if you're looking at it, the front left there in red has moved upwards and clockwise. The far right of it has moved downwards and clockwise. So now this is now presenting itself as a windage problem. And to make matters even more difficult, it's what we call a non-deterministic problem. It depends on the mounting torque. It depends on the geometry. It depends on whose receiver you're using and exactly what type of steel there is. And the way that these type of this loss of accuracy occurs is in slippage, right? You have a tight joint between a receiver and a chassis. It's going to warm up, nothing will happen for a little bit, and all of a sudden you're going to get this microscopic slip, and that's going to be the new point for the assembly, right? And if you look at our chassis on the bottom right there is it's intentionally symmetric. It's just an elevation change, and by the way, this is in like the thousandths of a millimeter, right? We're not talking, that picture has been magnified a few thousand times. What you see in the bottom right there is not actually a problem, because that's what it is always going to be. It is always going to show up as a consistent elevation angle, right? But so the fact that front pitches up a little bit, that's not a big deal. That's just the way the rifle is. But when you start introducing windage effects, ELR starts at 1,000 yards, right? That's not a long shot anymore. And you start stretching it out, there's consequences. And so these are some of the numbers. At 1,000 yards, you're around 30 inches over your target with a aluminum chassis. We're 55 times better. That comes out to about half an inch above your target at 1,000 yards. Stretch it out to a mile. Now you're about 4 feet over your target with an aluminum chassis. We're still under an inch. Stretch it out to 2 miles, and you can see the results. You're an 8 foot 2x4 above the thing you're aiming at, and we're still under 2 inches. Now, when you integrate that with our scope mounts and our stainless scope tube populated with tangent theta optics, there is no deformation. It's just academic, it's fun. For me, this is what gets me excited. This is what I think is the next big leap for rifles. I think, AI came out with the, what was the name of it? It was the Arctic Warfare Magnum, I think, in 1996. But that's more than 25 years ago, right? Like,
Wow.
Tell me what's different between any other chassis system and that one, other than the type of polymer they use for the side guards. Yeah. What we've done here with CTX, I think people will see this is the biggest improvement since free floated barrels, basically.
Yeah. So what kind of challenges have you found in, I was going to say in bringing this to market, but maybe that opens up some other questions, because something you mentioned earlier when we were talking offline was that I mentioned that I wanted to bring the website up, and it's in stealth mode right now anyway, but we can bring it up. So are you bringing it to the consumer market? Do you have other targets? Like, who's your ideal customer? And where have you had challenges with getting into the market thus far?
All of it.
And challenges and successes, yeah.
All of it is
all the challenges.
it is really difficult to start a company that makes anything. Hardware is really difficult to do. And what I tell people is that we're going to make a rifle that is cost competitive with any custom rifle you go out and get. But it's going to look a little different. Specifically, what I mean is if you go and get a custom rifle made, I think you're going to pay around 10 grand. You might pay a little bit less than that, but you're going to buy, you know, a $2,000 chassis, a Cadex or an AI can be a little bit more. You're going to buy a $1,000 receiver, but wait till the gunsmithing costs start creeping in there, right? By the time you leave, you're going to be at 10 grand, and we're going to have a rifle that'll come in under that has every improvement I'm talking about right here. But I really want to emphasize that the pricing scheme that's being used right now does not make any sense to me, because, you know, so I told you I came from technology and now I'm playing with rifles, right? Well, the fellow who I started this company with was my aerospace machinist, and he's the most talented machinist I've ever worked with. He can do the chambering job and the muzzle threading for basically nothing. I mean, this is a fast operation, and I through Gavin Gear with Ultimate Reloader, I met Gordy Britters in 2020, and I became a believer in his method of chambering. It is about, the way I describe it is basically about figuring where in that barrel the bullet is going to be, and making sure that when you cut your chamber, it's dead on true to where that bullet will be when you chamber the round, right? So this isn't taking a reamer and just plunging it from the start. If you do that, there's no hole, rifled hole through a barrel blank that is straight. You can't drill a perfectly straight 30-inch hole, right? It's going to have some curvature to it. Well, if you just plunge in a reamer, that reamer is going to follow the curve of that blank, and you're going to end up with a chamber with some curvature, and the reamer is going to flex a little bit, but it won't flex all the way, and so where that bullet is will not be perfectly in line with the bore of the barrel. Does that make sense? You know, we're talking small numbers here. This is not, you know, it's going to be a problem. You won't notice it until you compare it to a rifle that's been done differently. But with Gordy's technique, we go in and we indicate with some tools that are unique to machinists in the aerospace sector. We indicate where that bullet is going to be. We hog away a lot of the material with a drill bit, and then we square up the chamber to that indicated place with a boring bar, and then we take our reamer in and we just touch it, and we give it that final shape. But you've put very little stress into the barrel this way, and you have a chamber that's lined true to the bore. But that operation is really not that difficult for a machinist. That, you know, we can do that fast. And so what I see right now is that in a 10 grand rifle, the chassis is like 2 grand. And in our system, it's not going to be that way. The chassis is where the effort is for us. The chassis has moving parts. There's 4 or 5 mechanisms to it. There's different configurations. I think we have like 50 different unique parts when you include all the small springs and stuff that go into a chassis. The barreled action is not the difficult part for us. You know, we began as a chassis company, but I couldn't get anybody to do the barreled actions in a way that were consistent enough. And we had to take that on too. And so we use one barrel supplier right now. And there's a few actions out there that I like. We end up blueprinting every single one of them because you can get that to 0 as well. And by zero, I mean the misalignment between everything from the face of the receiver where it will contact the recoil lug to the perpendicularity of the raceway lugs. All of that, we can very quickly go in with a cutter and make all that zero. And, we can headspace the barrel to as tight as we want for the real precision guys, or we can keep it a little bit looser for the hunters out there, but it's still perfectly dead on chamber. But I just don't understand the way things are priced out there. So what you're going to see is a chassis that costs probably double what some of these expensive ones are out there. But when we integrate the rifle with it, the net effect is that you're gonna pay in the 9,000s for the gun, and that's probably going to be true for a short action or a long action. To us, they're pretty much the same product. So I guess that's one barrier, right? You have to convince people that this technology is real, right? That's one thing that's difficult. A lot of people like to say, I've been shooting long distance forever. That doesn't happen to me. Okay. You got to convince them this is a real problem. And we can do that pretty easily by taking people to the range. But then you have to make the thing. And to do this in the quantities that are required, you have to have your own CNC equipment. And so we did a pretty heavy investment in that. And one of the problems we've had bringing it to market is the supply chain stuff. I'm still waiting for 3 machines to show up. Now you're just going through my Instagram, which by the way is mostly me. Like when I'm bored posting pictures that either make me laugh, I'm like nervous about what the next one's going to be. You see pictures of my pregnant wife's belly up there. And we're a small company. We care about our employees, and interesting things in their lives often make the Instagram post. But so what happened was we debuted this as a consumer product, and it is a short action chassis compatible with Remington 700. And then some different buying groups popped up. Requests for evaluation units showed up, and I had to take the website down because I need to focus on supporting the warfighter, as that is our primary objective right now. I don't know if I answered your question at all. That's what I told you. Why the webpage went dark was there's a user group that I really want to support that I have to pay attention to right now. There's finding people to do this is difficult. It is orders of magnitude easier to machine this fancy aerospace grade aluminum than it is the stainless alloys we're doing. With these with these billet pieces of stainless, they move, right? There's internal stresses in that metal. You have to cut it, set it aside for a while, either heat treat it or just let it rest. And then you have to come back and do all these finishing cuts. When you look at the places where the receiver physically contacts the chassis, we have a very special way of cutting those surfaces. And it's one of the final things that happens, because if they're not, I don't even know, it's an over-constrained system, right? Because there's 4 points of contact instead of 3 already. And that's why it needs to be so good. But if it's off, you're just twisting the receiver. And in this stuff, it just matters. You just have to get it right. And at least that's the mindset that we take. Everything we do is done to the absolute limits of that discipline, right? I cannot figure out how to design a more accurate chassis than what we're presenting, and I can't figure out how to do the gunsmithing on a barreled action any better than we're trying to do it. That's Aaron Casey at Phoenix Weaponry down the road.
So one of the questions I was going to ask you is if you had met Aaron yet, because the more you talk, the more I was like, you guys need to get together.
Yeah, Aaron has a special place in my heart. I run his Phoenix suppressors. You can see the one behind me. I like his, that's the 338 one that I'm running on my 6.5 Creedmoor because I don't like loud noises. But he makes a great product. I like that you can take his suppressors, you can take them apart and clean them. And I think that's great. And I've been through a shop many times. I see how he understands quality. I mean, he has an aerospace background too. We have quality control systems that truly mimic what ISO 9001, right? I'm not going to pay for the certification of that. That costs a whole lot of money, and I don't want to pay for it right now. But I've been in that world for a long time. We have a quality control portfolio that mimics the intent of that program, and Aaron does too. He understands how this game is played.
Yeah.
Looking at what else is up there. Again, I'm just hoping you don't I didn't post something really dumb.
I'm hoping you did, because that'll make for a better.
That's what Jeff was looking for.
Experience here.
That's really what he's looking for.
The other thing was let's keep it bare metal. Let's nickel plate it for fun, and let's make it look different. And you can see in these pictures the bag rider and the cheek rest. Some of them are Babinga, some of them are Wenge. And when we sell it to the consumer, there'll also be the nylon parts that or Delrin you can put on and you can go beat up at the range and not feel bad. But why not make it like a work of art while you're at it? And so I don't know. I think it looks sharp, but
I completely agree. Yeah,
I want it to look different. And I'll tell you what, when you put your face up to a wooden cheek rest, it's a lot more comfortable than aluminum. The coefficient of thermal conductivity is very low with wood, and no matter how hot the wood gets, you don't burn your face with it like you will aluminum.
Yeah.
But I think the rifle should be such that you can lock it up securely and then put it over your fireplace when you get home. Like for me, I don't have art on the walls. I have pretty pieces of equipment that I'm impressed with, and even though my wife hates it, I do what I can.
Yeah.
Does that help a little bit? I feel like I'm mostly rambling and I forget half of what I'm talking about anyway. So
no, I really think it's very interesting.
This is the time where if you think that I'm full of BS, throw it out there. Like I'm the technical guy. Stump me. Let's go. I'll defend this stuff. And I fully believe it. Let me mention one more thing. We have the entire spine of that chassis is stainless. Stainless is far stiffer than aluminum. And what that means is when you shoot the gun, the recoil impulse that you feel is completely different. And what you feel is this high frequency, tick almost. But with an aluminum chassis, there's far more movement, and you feel it as like a pressure wave, and it just has a recoil feel that feels nothing like a conventional chassis. And and I don't even know how to advertise that yet, except that we'll be doing a whole lot of demo tours real shortly here, and I'm hoping to let as many people shoot it as possible. A lot of people have shot it up at Trigger Time in Longmont, and maybe people are afraid to say something mean to a kid in a wheelchair, but the feedback is overwhelmingly positive. It just feels different, and it's a cool product. I would hate to have to go around and sell something that I didn't like to sell something that was second best and compete on price or aesthetics. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah. So the reason you hadn't heard much from me is the reason we invited you on was for you to talk about your brand, and you're doing such a good job. There's no need for me to interrupt. Especially you're getting into the good stuff there. I didn't want to derail that. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing
Well, I'm
there.
up for hours.
Get
I can
rid
do
of
this
that.
all day.
So-
No, I really like the product, and we, the unit we brought to SHOT Show 2022 was going to be the production unit. I was going to come home and basically hit go and stamp those out. And there's like an expression that eventually you have to shoot the engineer. And I wanted to change some things. So we actually went back to the 2020 unit that we had at SHOT Show, and we kind of took the best of both worlds. And I was waiting for the machines anyways, right? So improve. If I can figure out a way to do something better, I have a hard time not doing it.
Yeah, we have the same challenge with writers, and I'm terrible about it. And I hate this expression, but it's very much applicable to how I do writing and editing, and that is, perfect is the enemy of done.
Yeah.
There's always something you can do to go back and try to tweak and make it a little better and a little better, and you'll never actually have it done. Okay, G23 has let us know that he is here now.
Oh, thank
So
goodness.
thank you for the warm up.
I was
Thanks for the
worried.
warm up. Now
Want me
we
to
can actually
start
get started with
again?
the show.
I can.
Yeah,
I can
we'll just
start
go.
right over. My name is John.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. You can go watch
Yeah,
the work.
excellent.
I was making all that up. I can't do that twice.
Oh my. So I think the one other page that I wanted to show here that we had talked about, I want to go back to the screen
She's just
sharing.
rambling around.
And
I remember in 2020, the thing that got me was, first of all, it was a sexy looking rifle, but then the graphics you had up on the screens with the temperature changes and the flexing of everything was, I was like, well, yeah, as far as like a generalized shooter, yeah, but as you go accuracy and stuff like that, I was like, yep, I was like, I totally see it. And that's when everything clicked, because I was like, before I was like, I couldn't understand a word you were saying, and then when I saw that, I was like, boom, there we are.
We should have started with this. Make that full screen or whatever, and get it to load first, because it just looks frozen. But that video is that video costs like $100 a second to make. So just watch it on repeat, because that video costs so much money to make. This is it's buffering all over the place. But go to YouTube, type in advanced shooting analytics, and this explains it pretty good. Pause it at one of these things, and I can kind of go back.
I got to get back to that screen. Sorry.
It takes Jeff time to do things.
Oh, it does.
It's like a delay.
Yeah, well, I got all these tabs open. I have to go back and forth between them.
There's 8,000 tabs you have open.
All right, we're paused.
There you go.
Well, at least technologically working out his challenges. I remember speaking with you at SHOT 2020, and one of the things that I really liked that you presented today was the fact that you've actually gone to creating an entire rifle rather than just the chassis, which is what we had spoken about at range day.
It is so much harder to make the chassis than the rifle. I can't, like, if there are moving parts, the design gets really difficult, right? And this is a tough thing to make, because on the way I think about it is, this has been treated forever as just the ergonomic interface to the barreled action. That is how, go back to the 03A3, right? It's a wooden stock. It is just what you hold so you can pull the trigger. And it has been treated that way since. It's been treated that way, and as like a sex appeal thing, right? There are some beautiful looking chassis out there, but we took it in a different direction. We first said, what does it need to do to improve the gun? The chassis has a lot of potential to destroy accuracy, and so yeah, but it's a simple solution, right? You You match the material properties of the chassis with the receiver so they move together. And then anytime you want to use a different metal that's going to behave in a different way, and there's a lot of reasons to do it. Cost is one of them, right? It's easier to machine aluminum, but we put an expansion joint in. And this is like every bridge you drive over has one, right? I didn't invent expansion joints. I invented this idea of CTX. Everything needs to be coordinated. And so that is a slightly different look than we have now, but it's not much different. The other feature is we put an adjustable bag rider on our chassis. Like, why do they not have those already? The problem is I'm afraid I'm gonna knock this one off behind me, but there's a knob right here. Can you see where I'm pointing?
Hold on.
I think you're gonna have to
just a
maximize
second.
the screen.
I gotta find the right spot to do
I
it.
didn't tell you could take me off the main screen.
He's gonna flip you to main screen. Maybe. There you go.
Boom.
I'm
Good
so
to go now.
excited that I'm gonna drop this thing, but like you turn these knobs here, and that bag rider starts extending downwards, and there's a positive click with each one, and like this isn't hard to do, but it's different. I think. I'm seriously scared right now, but this is our length of pull system too, and I just realized I had this one locked out. Nate, do you know if we have just the chassis here, the one that doesn't have the gun yet? But the same thing with the cheek riser here, right? We have a D10 thumb screw that you turn, and it's on this 5-point pivot, so it slowly comes down.
Oh, wow.
You loosen the back nut. You can do all the twisting, raising, and lowering. This folding hinge, can anybody guess what that's off of? If you already know, don't. Is that one the pull system for you? Yeah. All right, Nate's gonna hand me this one. Nate, don't show up in the video because I don't want people seeing you. This is my show. I want all of the attention and credit. So we do make them in like camouflage colors and stuff. That's also not a design challenge. But so this is our length of pull system. Press a spring, you get your adjustment that shoots out.
Oh, wow.
When you're holding it and you're using it, and like, you know, when you're laying down, you generally want like a long length of pull. Well, when you come up to a barricade, for those who can walk, you can press a button, close it. It's that quick. And then when you close it, it's rock steady. Like there's no movement.
So I want to interrupt you just for a second.
And
For the YouTube people, that is not a firearm. It is okay for you to handle that.
this is not
It
a
is
fire.
missing the barreled action. It is not a firearm. And we have to give context. It seems silly, but there are times we just have to pause and give context.
Yep.
Just so they know, so they don't yank the video like, oh my God, he was on a live handling a firearm.
YouTube
Well,
disclaimer.
no, he wasn't.
Nope.
This is okay.
No,
Go ahead.
And to push that even further, don't think of this as a rifle company. The product right now is a rifle, but this is a technology company. The next thing that we do, and the product roadmap is out. Well, it's not out there, but it's been determined. It's the next problem will not be a rifle. There's other stuff that needs to be fixed, but you know, let me show you now. So again, no gun in here. It's just a piece of metal. It's completely symmetric though. The bolt hole or the bolt cutout is on the left and the right. We're the only firearm system, I think, to ever do that. We have filed the patent. We're waiting to hear back on when it'll be awarded or whatever. But this is the first time anyone ever said like, hey, maybe this thing should like deform in a predictable way, since it always will be. And this is at an academic level, right? You put a bipod here and it supports the fore, and the whole gun does bend. It's not much, but even at a theoretical level, why not just do it correctly? So again, you press a lever, you get adjustment back here. You can loosen this screw here. You can go up and down with this guy. It's a little hard to do with one hand, especially when you're afraid of like dropping it on camera. But you can raise it, you can twist it. I really like the 5-point pivot for the cheek rest. I think that's a cool way of doing it. And there's man, this is like hard to do. You can see the Acme rod that goes in there, but then this little guy here is like a spring detent plunger. So it's like a ball with a spring behind it, and that's what's going into little notches within the turning thumb wheel. It's just how you do that mechanism. But it's adjustable, right? So if you want to be a totally, clandestine person, you can have it be totally silent. You can spin it, and there's Teflon bushings that separate it from the metals. There's no metal on metal contact. It's totally silent. Or, I like that, like audible click. I don't know. This one's kind of quieter than this one, but it just takes a hex key, right? So you can tighten it, you can loosen it to your preference. If you're right-handed or left-handed, it's the same product. You can see we have the magazine latch right here. It's off to one side. Snipers drag their rifles when they're getting into final position if they have to. And this way you can set it on the side and you can drag it, and you're not going to end up with your magazine, on the ground behind you. But it's held in with 2 pins. So if you want on the other side, pop the 2 pins, flip it over, push them back in, you're done. We'll have, and then we'll do, double wide mag paddles. Some people like those. I like the older style ones where it's like they're really low profile, but it's different user groups, right? It's the PRS guys want one thing, the snipers want another, and that's fine. Everybody can have what they want. Up here, you can see there's pretty significant texture we put into the bag rider up here. Then you have an Arca Swiss forend here. This is kind of where it likes to balance on a tripod real well. And then M-lock all the way around the forend. And then like the one behind me, we've cut the M-lock off the top. So you can run your scope a little bit lower. There's a night vision one too. And when you go through, you can customize all this stuff. This is, that's the fun, easy stuff. Make your rifle look a little bit different than anyone else's.
How about for those of us that actually use the proper hand when shooting?
What hand is that?
Left hand.
You just buy a left-handed action from us and put it in.
That's fake news, Alan. That's fake news.
That's wrong-handed people.
It folds. It is captured in the folded position. This one, I tried to throw out the trivia question and then I just moved on. But we needed a hinge for SHOT Show, and we had designed 2, and I didn't like either one of them. So I bought a bunch of surplus Israeli Galils, and I cut those hinges off. I hot riveted them on, and that's what we were at SHOT Show. And a few people noticed, and other people were just like, "Yeah, it works. It was a good hinge."
Mm-hmm.
but that's different now. There's a different hinge that you'll see that's way better than this one, and it'll fold and capture the bolt. It'll it'll do all the things that chassis are supposed to do, but it'll also do it without destroying your accuracy. Otherwise, honestly, if you can't afford this, go out and buy a rifle stock. You don't completely get away from the problem, and it's because if you think about like carbon fiber or fiberglass, those materials don't really expand with temperature, but that doesn't mean you have a problem because your receiver is going to, right? In that instance, the difference in the coefficient of thermal expansion is like 10 parts per million versus 20 something with the stainless alloys and aluminum. So it's not as bad of a problem, but it's still a problem. You're just gonna, on a hot day, have your barrel point down and your scope point up. It's the inverse. Well, and ask tough questions. You guys are just like taking my word for it. We've done this, right? Like this isn't just it was done in a software program and then we said, all right, we're done. Like we put this in a chamber. I didn't even do the test. I told my intern how to do it. He went and did it. He showed me the results when we were done. We sent the data off to a statistician, a PhD. She said, yeah, you have enough data. These results are believable. You can go on and brag about it. And again, 55 times better performance than who out there I think is our nearest competition. There's other companies that it's far better than that.
So yeah, I'm going to ask the panel. Do you have any tough questions? And well, I'll give you a second to answer that.
No, I believe everything he says. But no, yeah, I understand you're hitting the supply chain issue as far as getting the equipment and materials. So it's you have like a timeline on that, or is just whenever they show up?
We're saying May 1 for the short action and July 1 for the long action. We have a lot of material. Like, we bought a lot of material earlier, and I'm not promising anything, but I'm not ruling out making barrels at 1.2 because I'm a purist about this. You can't button rifle a barrel. You can't hammer forge it. You can't do it. You have to cut it. You have to cut it really slowly because you're trying not to induce any stresses into anything. So you have to be extremely gentle, and that takes time. And right now, I like there's okay. So here's another thing, right? Have you guys ever seen any of the chassis out there and you feel their grips and you're like, oh God, I need to change this like the instant I get it home? Like,
yeah,
there's shortcuts taken like that for sure, right? Or even like you buy an AR and the buttstock is like, oh wow, we're changing this out quick. I tried not to do that. So right now, I demoed as many limb saver butt pads as I could find. I found the one I liked the most. We went with that. It is not the cheapest one out there, but I like it. The grip we're using is the Ergo TDX 0. I just opened it up like I was going to show it to you, but it's not even on here. You can find me one of those. But it's a vertical grip, which I like. They're not for everybody, but okay, here's some other features. Behind the trigger guard, you see those serrations?
Yeah.
You can move that grip forward and backwards. And in any position, it will not block you from unmounting the receiver. You'll still be able to get to that. But if you have a longer hand, you can, like I have bigger hands, I can pull that way back and extend my grip. And it's not even just for hand size, it's for triggers, right? Like, on our rifle behind me, there's a Trigger Tech diamond trigger in there. That's not even a rifle. That's a fake prop, right? But in that fake prop, there's a Trigger Tech diamond trigger. I like that one. I felt here we go, Limb Saver pad and TDX 0. I tried all of them. These were my favorites, but they're just an AR-15 style. So, put whatever you want on there. Send these back. They're expensive. But I make it as customizable as I can. Like, it's not hard. You just put a little bit of thought into the design. And you loosen the fastener. You can slide the grip back, retorque it, and you're done. I'm trying to make it so that you can adjust everything on here with one tool. That's difficult. There's a bunch of different size fasteners, and trying to get them all with a similar hex drive, or Torx is what was on here, or the 6 lobes, whatever they're called now. I like those. They definitely have better longevity, and camming out doesn't happen as easily. But not everybody has a Torx driver. And the other thing was, like, a lot of them that we tried to procure, you could only get with a security bit. So it has that annoying pin in the middle. And then you have to, like, find a special tool for that again. So I want to go all metric. Do you guys hate that idea?
I don't.
I come from aerospace, and metric is just so much easier. Like, you have a 3mm and it doesn't fit. Well, you should probably try a 3.5 or a 4. If you have like a 530 seconds and it doesn't fit, what's the next one? Right? Like, I don't do math. I don't
Right.
like, I recognize I'm in America. I prefer MOA to mills. I am happy to go on that conversation with you guys if you want. But so like I still think in inches. That's why like ranging targets in MOA makes more sense to me. But man, for tools, millimeters are a lot easier to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys all on board with that if I make that change?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Right.
I find myself, I know this is going to surprise everyone, but I've been doing a lot of guitar stuff lately. And
No.
I know. The Asian made guitars, everything is in metric, and the USA made stuff is all in inches. And I find myself getting annoyed when I have to deal with measurements in inches because, I mean, we're getting down to like 64ths of when we're setting up guitars. That's as granular as we're getting. But still, it's like, come on, just, you know what? I'll flip the gauge over. It'll be inches on one side, metric on the other. I'm like, let me just flip that over. And it's just so much easier because, you know, my little squirrel brain can't handle doing the fraction conversion.
Or just trying to remember what they all are.
Yeah.
You know, grip is this one. Like, what are the mounting screws? Are they 330 seconds for the tool? And I don't know.
You could do it my way. You just take the wrenches and just keep testing them until you find one that fits.
I just keep rifling through the bag until I find one that fits.
You have to take the bag and flip it over and just shake it, right?
Yeah,
and then,
eventually one works.
If you can't get one to fit, you try to like get it in diagonally or just use pliers.
Yeah, if you angle it right, it works.
You can
and a little piece of tape.
And get ice grips. Ice grips will take anything off.
You know, I like the metric end. I've been working. I've got a Volkswagen, and I've had to work on that. And the tools are very like everything fits perfect.
My Ford was like that too, though. I had an F-150, and everything on there was metric. Like it's just flat out easier. I'm sorry.
Yeah. They use the Volkswagen uses those Torx bits, and I mean, you're not stripping them.
You're not stripping them, but not everybody has them. And
I had to order them.
And
Amazon.
like you go to if you're at an event or you're out on an op and you lose it, I don't know. It's
you pack extras.
I know, but there's still going to be the person who's upset when you know I don't know.
You'll find people that'll get upset that you're using hex screws too.
You just hammer it. If you hammer in the alum screw, it'll fit. I mean, it works for a little while.
And plus, if you use if you lose the Torx bit, you can use the screwdriver. You get the right blade that fits across.
If you hammer it in, it'll fit once and it'll work, and you're good.
That's right. What I really want to do, I spent some time at the supplier showcase, and I talked to some of the fastener vendors, and you can get it so that all of your fasteners will take the same key, but they'll also have like on the OD of the fastener, they'll have like hex lobes. So you could you could get them out. I mean, because wouldn't it be cool if they all had both? And
you have that'd be awesome.
The key, then you grab a socket.
Yeah, strip out the inners. Like, I got the outer. It's fine. Perfect.
Yeah, let me go over this with you guys. So the question you should have asked is, well, you're making this out of steel, isn't it going to be heavier than every other chassis, right? Like, are you guys all wondering that now that I told you?
Well, maybe, but also, I don't do a lot of long-range shooting, but I've noticed people weighting their long-range shooting rifles. You know,
that's a great irony. I get asked all the time, like, is it going to be weight heavier at the same time they're purchasing like weights for for $80 a piece to bolt on?
Right.
This chassis that we brought to SHOT Show is 7.5 pounds, and I had let me see, I have some notes here.
How many kilos?
Don't go there. Well, so if I have I have a Bighorn Action 6.5 24-inch barrel. That comes to 7.5 pounds, just about. So yeah, that add that up, you're at 15. That seems pretty decent to me. We could get it a little bit lower. The configuration, the way it is, kind of how I want to put it together right now, brings it down to 6.95 pounds for the chassis. But I feel zero need to take that extra half pound off, because the more weight you put on it, the better the recoil feels.
Yeah, my rifle runs at about 14 pounds, and some of the guys I shoot where they're trying to get to 25, 26, 27 pounds for the rifle, I'm like, you got to lug that thing eventually, so have fun with that.
Yeah, going through doorways is the hardest part for me, but I don't feel like they need to be like the carbon fiber barrels, right? I'm not into it. It doesn't make any sense to me why you would put dissimilar metals like that, where you're going to have temperature extremes. Like I don't get it. I don't need to save that weight. And then again, you see the weights bolted to the rifle at the same time. It's no, you can't make everyone happy, but I'm trying. I'm trying.
Yeah. So you said a couple times, I felt like a little bit of a, how come you guys aren't challenging me on this stuff? And I'll be honest with you, and this is the same thing I remember talking about in your booth up at the pop-up preview at SHOT a couple years ago. And it was everything you're saying makes sense. The data you're showing looks plausible, makes sense. I don't have the facility, the equipment, the expertise to validate any of it. So my choice then is basically trust or not, because I can't effectively challenge anything you said. Like logically, everything makes sense.
Yeah.
And
The first thing that he said that I understood is when he said MOA and mill. I was like, oh, I understand what he said. So
don't get me started on that one. You were scrolling through my Instagram post, and you wouldn't click on that one. I was like,
try an hour to get into that.
I was insomnia the other night, and I just started typing away why I hate mill. It's this new thing. Everybody needs to hate on MOA. I'm like, why? Even if they're all equal, the scopes are cheaper. Like,
I do have a question for you. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I just had to look. The last two scopes I got in to review, I wasn't sure. So the 1 to 10, it's the LVPO, but that's an MOA. And then this, what is this? A 6 to 24 Black Hound. That one is an MOA. You can't read that, TJ? Really?
Can't read
it. Even with me moving it around like this, you can't read it?
No,
you got to give him a chance to sound out the words.
Yeah. The awesome lighting you have is fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're basically the same, right? You use your little ballistic calculator, you plug it in, you get a number, you dial your scope to that, and you shoot it.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's this problem that somehow went unnoticed for a long time, but when I tell you the solution is like, hey, you just make it out of the same material, or one that behaves the same, and you try real hard to machine it correctly, like it's not that far-fetched, right?
Yeah. And I do feel bad that I haven't. There hadn't been any aha moments. There hadn't been any raised voices, like aha, we figured out why this doesn't work or anything. But I mean, everything sounds very plausible, and I don't even know how, from a practical way of testing it. I mean, it would have to be sitting down at a range that has the target's way out there and shooting multiple rifles that are different construction methods and materials, and it may be inducing some temperature variation either through multiple rounds or different times of day or whatever.
You can do it with a cooler full of dry ice and a couple rifles, and then a heat lamp or something. But I don't come from that background. Like, I don't go out to the range and shoot all these rounds and then say like, see, it's better. Like we did this as like a $30,000 lab test. We took, these were more specifically doing stuff for NASA. We did mirrors, right? So these were mirrors that you would have to bond to them. Everything's bonded in aerospace. So we bond on actuators and targets for the position sensors to look at. And what I did is I would design the bond pads, because the larger you make the pad, the better it will work in vibration. They'll stay connected. But the larger you make the pad, the more length you're confining two things of different materials to have to stick together for. So you make it worse in thermal. The thermal strain it's proportional to length. So like if you have one bolt, that's the ideal situation, right? Because there's no length. They're not being forced together anywhere, except under the head of the bolt maybe. But if you go and you glue, like that's why bond patterns, they'll always be circular. That's how you get the most area with the least length. You don't do a bond line, because then you get small area for a long line, and you're forcing those things to be attached to each other for some long length, and the strain is proportional, so it goes up. Hooke's law. Go read about Hooke's law. It's great. F equals kx. I love that stuff.
I read something about Hooke's law when I was a kid, but it involved a guy with the hook on his hand and a little kid in green tights that flew around, and it was there was an alligator, maybe it was a crocodile, that kind of terrified me.
I can't take him anywhere.
Can I show my screen again? I'll show you a couple more. I made a couple of videos. They're not good videos.
That one. Okay.
So again,
this isn't like off your OnlyFans page or anything, is it?
It is, but my OnlyFans page is for a specific user group. It's out of the norm.
Gotcha.
I'd opened on the wrong screen.
Oh, so it's a weird OnlyFans. That's interesting.
There's some kink on mine. It's like my friend. I got a friend who is. I go to him for my firearms questions, and his girlfriend was giving him crap because he was just telling her, all I do is watch porn. All I do is watch porn. She's like, what porn can you watch? Finally, she's like, let me see. And he has like now I'm forgetting the name, the Moss 46 or whatever, that French rifle where the magazine clip is on the magazine instead of the gun. And he's like, this is just beautiful porn right here. Look at how thoughtful this design is on this firearm. And like, so that's what my OnlyFans page is. So here's the ASA chassis. This has a shot being taken, and so I can throw that screen up too. But again, the key here is just look at the deformation, right? There's no twisting. That's what's important. And how this works is, I'll bring this on too. You guys ever use Quick Load? Like that program? Anybody?
Nope.
Quick Load will give you the time domain pressure curves for the chamber. So I basically plotted out. Why do you keep doing that? I plotted out the times and the pressure on the bolts. Turn these into these curves. These are the spikes you see as a function of time, and then I bring that into my analysis software, and that's what you see simulated in that video. So this is one shot being fired. I'll show you something really interesting here. So that's our chassis. We like the way that behaves. Let me show you competition.
You're going to tell us whose chassis that is, right? So we
No,
can
I'm not.
start heckling them.
So
See, my analysis spreadsheet's a coloring book for my crayons, so this is way more high tech than mine.
yeah, it's an expensive software package, but
He's using the cherry, the banana, the orange, the grape, the green apple, the blueberry. He's got all of them here.
See, I identify with that, so that's keeping me interested because I'm getting hungry at this point.
I am too. I haven't had breakfast yet. I watched one of your
Oh.
other things. You started asking that guy like, what's your favorite breakfast? I'm like, man, breakfast sounds good. I'm like slipping. But this is the twist. And now here's something I'll say this and then I'll shut up. But this happens in a cycle, right? There's a wave that propagates. So this competition, it's going to go up, it's going to twist, and it's going to come back down. The frequency that it does that means it times out just perfect so that when the bullet is leaving the barrel, it is at the exact halfway point of the cycle. So it is at the worst case scenario.
Look at that, all stretched out in the middle and everything.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you have, a cutout for your bolt and you have a cutout for your safety. This whole wall has been thinned. Over here, it's thicker. And how many chassis out there have an asymmetrical magwell? Almost every one. Well, we do too, but on ours, we made that out of a separate piece that doesn't actually touch the receiver. Like this stuff isn't even that hard. It's just you just think of it at think of everything you can. I mean, there's companies out there that are big, and I wonder like what their meetings are like. Like guys, let's make it red this year.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it. Yeah.
But
hey, where should we take the dealers for our golf outing?
Right here, pretty much.
Well, you go to SHOT Show, and the same people get Product of the Year every year. The same people are doing all the interviews every year. It's a pay to play thing. That's the barrier to entry, right? I didn't say I want to make a chassis. I said I want to create a company that is making the best rifle that has ever been made in the world, and I want to go against those people. And that's the challenge with starting a company is hard. Like,
yeah,
it is a lot of work. The expression, like, you get to pick which 18 hours a day you work, that is, like, you can say that and laugh at it, but then you start your own company, and that is 100% accurate.
Only 18, huh?
No, it's not. I mean, it's insane how much work there is to, especially when you start bringing, like, investors onto it, the questions, the justification to try to convince everybody you're not wasting their money, and like I really care about that stuff, and it's hard. It's hard, but I'll tell you what, this is the most fun job I've ever had. I went shooting the other day. Like I went in and shot 1,000 rounds or something to make sure everything would hold up and nothing would fall out. That was my work day, and the company paid for the ammunition.
That's a good day.
It's not a bad day.
Yeah.
Did you have an intern to load your mags?
What I do, I do. When we built up the inventory, right? We ordered the AICS mags from Accurate Mag, and we ordered like 100 of them, and so there's like 100 mags that are all loaded. It makes it easier for sure.
Yeah, nice.
There's nothing plastic injection molded on this chassis. I took apart one of the competitors the other day. I needed like 4 sizes of different Allens, and I lost their emblems that stick out because they're these plastic injection caps that are taped on, and the tape had fallen off. Like these are on the most expensive chassis you can go out and buy. Their logo is like embedded into plastic and taped. I don't know. I said I wasn't going to trash talk anybody, and I won't. We are doing things a different way, and I think we're doing it in a way that our future customers will enjoy.
Yeah. So, speaking of future customers, and I am keeping an eye on the clock because we're pushing up against. We started late, but we're still pushing towards 2 hours, and we really need to kind of keep it to that length. So we got about 15 minutes left. So everyone think if there's anything else you want to ask, anything else you want to talk about. I think that we're not going to get to the recently published reviews and what's coming up this week. So I'm just going to break right now and tell you, if you'd like to see our recently published reviews, you can go to Gear-Report.com, and they're all there, and they're in chronological order. So The most recent is at the top, and as you go down the page, you'll see we had 5 articles we were going to talk about today across a wide range of different top. Well, I say wide range. There was a guitar article and wooden gun vault for the wall, and sunglasses, and some tactical kit,
That's
and
a
a
pretty wide
cooler.
variety.
Really neat wheeled cooler. So you go check out all those things on Gear-Report.com. They're all out there. And upcoming stuff, since I have it here in front of me, something that showed up recently that's going to get, it's going to go on. I'm not even sure what rifle it's going to go on yet. This is one of the Blackhound Genesis scopes. This happens to be a 6 by 24 to 50 first focal plane, and it's not in mil, it's in MOA. So anyhow, that's some of the stuff that's coming here, as well as which side of the wall back here. This yellow Telecaster copy showed up yesterday, so we'll have some more guitar reviews up there soon. We'll have
Awesome.
we got all kind of stuff coming. It's crazy.
Well,
It's absolute insanity. All the stuff we have coming.
I have stickers that I'm happy to send to somebody who posts something somewhere that's nice. And you know, the real one is like we use Google Drive for everything. I can't get Google Drive to link to my PC. On my Mac, it's fine. So if anybody can send me an email at info@advancedshootinganalytics.com and teaches me how to get Google Drive to work, I'll send you a T-shirt. And it won't be one of like the custom ASA John welding T-shirts that has like the cool holes in it, but it'll be a new one. And you can have one with all the holes, but I will send a T-shirt out to whoever teaches me how to get Google Drive to stay linked to my PC.
Nice.
I have no help right there.
I can't do it. It looks promising. I get an icon on the desktop. I click on it, and it doesn't work.
Huh.
I barely signed on to the show. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys having me today. I enjoyed our conversations at SHOT Show. I thought it was cool to talk about something meaningful. And there were a few people who I had that conversation, and Jeff, I remember we talked for a while, and we got a friendly drink together, and we kept talking for a while, and it was nice to talk to people who want to see better, right? Not just different, but better, and who care, because I don't want to be another like Me Too. I want to do something different. I only want to talk to people who want to do something cool.
Yeah.
And
that's the same approach that we take.
I really appreciate that you took the time to talk to me and my tiny little company, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, we're happy to have you here. And so what I'm looking forward to is as you move things along, get to the point where we can get together and actually test this out in the field, because we have to go back and look at pictures and video. I think I probably did shoot it at Range Day a couple years ago at SHOT Show.
Yeah.
But honestly,
if you went through the long range booth, you shot it, because I made everyone who went through shoot it. Like I force fed it to everybody, whether they wanted it or not.
And I'm pretty sure I did, because the hook really at that in that venue, I think, is the visual, and it's cool looking. And who doesn't want to get pictures and videos shooting something cool looking? And a little peek into the mind of the media person is we don't have time to learn everything about everything there, especially on a normal range day. We were like that year, we spent half a day there, and then we went out to Nellis to the ATAC range day. So we were only half a day. We had to make decisions quick and move through the line. And range days for getting B-roll. It's for shooting things so that you can at least say, yes, I've shot that,
And machine guns take center stage, right? Who wants to shoot this over like the new squad machine guns and stuff?
No, I'd rather shoot the long range stuff anyways.
Yeah.
it's more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Machine guns used to be more interesting, but the more I shoot them, the more I'm like, well, okay, that was kind of
Really,
anticlimactic. But
I get this smile across my face, and then I go
yeah,
another $100 on ammo. Then
yeah, yeah,
second
yeah.
smile.
Yeah, I mean, we go to events all the time, and I'll decline. Like, I've shot. CMMG has probably asked me 20 times, "Hey, do you want to shoot the mutant?" I'm like, "I've shot the mutant, Mike. Come on. Do I need to burn any more of your ammo? It's awesome, but really, I'm gonna respect you enough to say I don't have to shoot it every time we see each other." Um, but
I
yeah,
I met up with a couple of my favorite AR vendors when I was at SHOT Show, but man, there's a lot of stuff that looks pretty similar, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's a lot of different pistol braces companies out there that like everybody has innovation in their name, right? But like it's a buzzword for a lot of people, but
yeah.
I'm trying to do something genuinely different, and I appreciate you guys noticing.
Sure.
I don't
So
get a lot of time like this. This is a big deal for our company.
good. Well, and I hope it becomes a big deal for us as well that this video answers questions for people, connects with people, and helps you to move this forward. So, speaking of moving it forward, some of the potential customers, you said you've put the commercial side kind of on hold to pursue supporting the
It's
warfighters.
not on hold. It was gonna be out within 60 days of SHOT Show, and it
Uh-huh.
couldn't. It's not on
Uh-huh.
hold. It's still going at the same. It's the same product. It'll be great, but it took like 3 extra months than I thought, I guess.
So where I was going is um, the challenge of bringing something like this to market with all the expense involved. To me, I think, and I worked in marketing for a number of years and ran a marketing agency for a couple of years. So I always kind of think from the brand marketing perspective. Um, if you land some of those customers, that's like automatic validation for a lot of people, and you've just leapfrogged from the terms of brand credibility and brand recognition. And now you show up in the Jane's book because some agencies or whatever are carrying it. And so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for you that you're able to move some of those things forward. um, and on the consumer side, yeah, it's going to be interesting, I think, to see how you're able to move this forward. Obviously, we'll help get the word out. Let us know whenever we can be of service to you. Our typical pitch is, hey, we got a bunch of writers and content creators. Get some out to us, and we'll shoot some videos. But I don't know that we could really do justice. So that's also like I think about the challenge you have of how to have credible validation to bring something to market that justifies the price point that you have. Um, Either people trust the data or they get out and do really sophisticated tests. But I think part of your challenge is you have a huge educational hurdle in bringing a new product with some different differentiators and benefits to the market. And how do you validate all the things that you say, and not just you, but how do you get third parties to validate it? And that's where, if I can come up with something, I'll let you know. But at this
It,
point, like,
we
I wish I could help you more, but
so we got lucky, and um, I have signed an NDA, and I can't talk about where it is and with who it is, but this has already been funneled towards the people who I wanted it to be funneled to.
good,
And
good.
I think that third party stuff will come. I think people will get it too, though, because again, you're not going to use the Kestrel the way you used it before. You just
Mhm.
like that thing is running equations that aren't real. Like it's trying to account for something that it doesn't need to account for. And when you shoot targets on wildly different temperature days and your dope doesn't change, you get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in that, tangent theta, right? This is not a low quality company. These guys are as good as there is, and they told us the same thing. They said the hardest part of this will be the educational part, and we want to help you because they're stoked. They see that this gives them an edge over any other scope manufacturer out there to be integrated into a chassis system like what we're doing with them. And I think I think being very honest and open about the data that we have and partnering with some of these high quality people. I mean, even people like Aaron, right? Like if this was smoke and mirrors, Aaron and I wouldn't spend time together. I know Aaron to that degree, right?
Yeah.
And
well, and same, definitely. Yeah. I mean, when I saw one picture of you with him, I was like, oh, okay, I know Aaron is legit. And then I scroll down and see different facial and hair and everything. I'm like, oh, so they get together often.
Yeah.
Okay, that was additional validation. But because
Aaron
I know Aaron,
a good guy who makes a genuinely good product. I mean, ask him about the trigger that he made. Aaron made a trigger that I don't know how many of them he's selling because it's an expensive trigger, but when you shoot it, it is so much better than what you expect. But he has a similar problem that I do, and that we're not trying to make like the Me Too stuff. It's trying to differentiate on quality, and I think people are going to get it. I think people are going to realize that there's going to be a buy once, cry once associated with it. But you get to outshoot your friends. Isn't that really what it's all about?
Yeah. In many cases, it is. Okay, let's make one more lap around. If anyone has any comments or anything before we wrap up, because we're approaching the 2-hour mark. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me get that off the screen and bring us back up here. So, Alan, any closing parting comments you have?
No, actually, I take that back. Yes, again, it was nice to see the evolution of the product.
Yeah.
A big change between what I saw in 2020 and what you presented today. It was really nice to see that.
Thank you. I'm trying. I really am trying.
And even if I don't give you the solution, can I get a shirt?
You gotta tell me how to use Google Drive. Send me some contact information. I'll hook you guys up, and we'll for sure get together. Like, you guys are gonna see this rifle. I don't care if you write about it or not, but like, I want you guys to shoot it. I appreciate this. I appreciate the conversations we had in Vegas, and we're gonna put a rifle in your hands for sure.
So I'll warn you though, Alan, before you commit to send him a shirt, he has very specific requirements for shirts because of I'm not saying he's a diva, okay? I would never say
it has
that.
to be a left-handed shirt.
It has to be a wrong-handed shirt, and he has some, like, I'm allergic to some sort of fibers thing.
The wrong-handed shirt.
Yeah, the wrong.
Well, send me. I think they're vegan. I think they're gluten-free. In Boulder, so this stuff is important. The world's most accurate sniper rifle, designed in Boulder, Colorado. Like, come on, our city is going to be so proud of me.
They are.
Wait a minute, I think my daughter moved there.
Like, you guys need to leave. We know what you're doing. We don't want to be a part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You go into town, everybody shuts their doors. Like, no, we don't want you in here.
Yeah, I'm not popular.
So since Alan was talking, I will you know what? Let me copy that URL and put it in the chat as well. Go check out Quarter Horse Arms, where Alan is the proprietor and second in command. Is that correct, or
Yeah.
are the dogs above you on the pecking order?
Actually, I think my wife is definitely ahead of.
Yeah. So anyhow, Quarter Horse Arms. There's a rumor that they have a bunch of cool guns on consignment there,
I heard
with
that
a
rumor.
very motivated seller. So
I
go
heard
check
that
out
rumor.
Quarter Horse Arms and see if any of those consignment guns have been listed yet. Yeah, because that's what the rumor said. So okay,
Jeff, will,
Yes.
will you post up the link for that YouTube video?
for which?
My video, the ASA one, just because it did.
Oh, it's up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do hope people go and
Yeah.
check that because I think it explains it with some graphics that do a better job than I do. But sorry.
Yeah, if anyone missed it, go look at the comments. You'll see the link to the website, to the Instagram page, to the YouTube channel, to the Facebook page. We got all that stuff up there,
Thank you.
as
Yeah.
well as now we have Quarter Horse Arms, and with that, Alan said, "Screw you guys, I'm out of here."
Pretty much.
Now that my site's been promoted, I can pitch you losers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the same when we get breakfast.
Yeah, it was the I think it was the hint that I know what he did is he went to put my guns up on the website since he's had them for 6 months and hadn't listed them yet.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He's going to bed.
You're right, he didn't. Yep. All right, TJ, any parting?
No, I mean, like I said, we talked in 2020, and I saw, like I said, it was like, boom, there it is. Everything makes sense now. And I think people are just going to have to realize that, they're going to have to pay for the price is relevant. You're going to pay for the technology and the testing and all that, all the time and energy that went into this product. And I think that eventually they're going to figure out that it's definitely worth it.
We're not making huge margins on this. It's just
right.
The stainless is far more expensive than aluminum. It cannot cut it as fast. It's harder to work with.
And that's what I said. They're going to have to. They're paying for a higher quality, better machining, better the technology's there and everything. It's not like you can't give it away, but it's definitely worth it.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think the value proposition is strong.
Yeah.
All right, Ghost, you're up.
No, it was a very interesting conversation. I didn't understand about 90% of it. No. It was good. It was good. I think what people don't realize that are not into the long-range competitive game is that a $10,000 rifle seems crazy expensive. If you go to the PRS guys and some of these sniper competitions, they've got loadouts that are $25,000, $40,000 loadouts.
Wow.
So what you're talking about is not out of the realm of someone who takes their sport seriously and who wants to compete at the highest level. For the guy just going out to get maybe a buck once a year or whatever, this isn't the rifle, but you're not marketing this rifle to that person either. You're marketing to someone that knows what the value of this rifle is and the chassis and everything that goes into this. And for someone who has seen a $40,000 rifle at a competition shoot, people take it very seriously. I think people, once they understand the science behind it, I think there's a lot of people that they hear a name brand and they say, well, that's what I should have because everyone says that's what I should have. And someone go buy that $40,000 rifle, and next thing you know, they're getting outshot by someone with inferior abilities because their equipment's that much better because they never took the time to understand the science behind it. I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that understands the science behind it. I just want to know when I pull a trigger, it's going to hit where I aim. If I had the money, I'd buy the rifle without the explanation because I do trust it. I trust what the science tells me. I don't have to understand. I can see with, if you can see with your own eyes that if you put me at 1,000 yards with rifle A and rifle B, and rifle B continuously outshoots rifle A, I don't need to know why. And there's a lot of people like that. It's nice that you can explain that, but I think like I said, there's a lot of people out there that are willing to spend whatever it takes to get that competitive edge. And I hope that they're willing to take a look at your stuff, because the science does back it up. It's not just word of mouth, and it's not just a brand name. It's what it is. So I enjoyed the conversation.
I appreciate it. I really do think that if you compare the price of our rifle with the price of a completed rifle from another manufacturer, we're in the ballpark. But the fact that the chassis does not cost more than a rifle, I don't understand that. It's too easy to make receivers, and what is the barrel? $300? I don't get it, but I think as a package we're going to have a good value.
Good. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. We really appreciate you being here. I apologize that it took as long as it did to get this set up.
I blame Jeff.
But and I'll be honest with you. The discussion we had at SHOT a couple years ago has lingered with me, because like what I told you at the time is I want to help you. I don't know how, because I don't have a long shooting range. I'm not an experienced distance shooter. All the things that would need to really be there to be a credible, help to you wasn't there. But then I got to thinking we could, share your brand with our audience. And it actually had something to do in the early days of the show. I mean, this episode 106, we do it once a week. We've been doing it since a little bit after SHOT Show. And it's part of my frustration with not being able to help you at that time led to this show being created. So it's good that we finally had you here to talk. I'll tell you, I may try something, cutting it up. There are a number of people who take a 2-hour show and chop it up into little 10, 15-minute bits. I've got a couple in the can here from prior shows that I'm thinking, I want to go pull some clips out and see if we can make some easier to digest pieces for people where, give them a taste. If they like that, they can come watch the whole thing. We may do that with this show here. I don't know how long it'll take because my queue's out of control. But if you think that'd be if you happen to still be listening at this point, 2 hours and 7 minutes in, God bless you. That's 2 hours, 7 minutes. You're never getting back. It was worth it.
And she's not watching.
Yeah. So
Crystal gave up.
Yeah. No, hey, she was here for a minute. You saw that, right?
I did.
I appreciate what you guys are doing. I get that this is not for everybody, right? Not everybody is going and trying to start at 1,000 and push it beyond there. But we can get together and we can have a conversation with the fact that it's still kind of cool. I mean, I don't run very well anymore. I don't go jump over obstacles, but I watch those competitions and I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
So it was a good conversation. Yeah. You guys obviously are smart. You get it. It's fun. I like talking to people about it, and the brand awareness you're helping me out with is enormous.
Yeah. I usually don't collide the same sentence with smart, but I'll take the compliment. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks again. Something we do when we close out the show, I usually surprise people, and it occurred to me I should probably warn people before we do this. So we're going to say, what are we going to say? Oh, we'll say, hey, we'll see you next week, and we'll see you at the range, and we'll point at the camera. That's just what we do. It's cheesy, I know, but that's what we do. All right. So here it comes, and I got to.
Do I do it too, or is it just you guys and me?
You know what? It's a personal decision. I don't force my views on people.
I didn't get this.
If you like to.
What is it again?
If you like to. I'm going to close with, and we'll see you at the range. And when I say see you at the range, we point, and we kind of put. I'll be obnoxious sometimes. Almost push the camera.
Finger is so white right now,
You don't
Jeff.
have to.
I thought
don't
about it.
want you.
I'm not doing it. I thought about it. No, it's not me.
Fair
All
enough.
right.
I'll
I
say
like
it. I'm ready. Go for it.
All right. Here, Jeff.
All right, here we go. We'll see you at the range.